All right, good morning to everyone. My name is Alex Chia. I'm a chef lecturer in Berjaya University College. So today I'm going to talk about Malaysian heritage cuisine. So this has been a topic I want to talk about since my days in Australia. I've been there studying and working for almost 5 years, and I came back and started working with Berjaya. And I realized that our culture, the heritage of Malaysia, or the old cuisines are slowly being disappearing because of the time. The generations is different. So today I'm just going to talk about what are the differences from north to south, all the different cuisines we have in Malaysia, and at the end I'll give there's a video as well, a short video for you guys to see how the generations have changed. At the end, I'll just give you guys a brief gist of what I've been talking about. Okay. So Malay heritage varies from north to south. However, there are variations, similar and differences. Essentially, Malaysian food is influenced by a myriad of cultures such as Arab, Indian, Chinese, Siamese, Javanese, Minangkabau, and others. So different regions of Malaysia are known for their unique or signature dishes such as beef rendang, laksa, and nasi lemak. So we know all these dishes uh, everywhere, but from towards the north to the south, there's the same thing, but they make it a bit different because of the different migrants or different people that has been there and influenced their dishes as well. So as you can see from the top left is a beef rendang. It could vary from state to state, from north to south as well. And then on the bottom left is nasi lemak. So the typical nasi lemak is rice cooked with coconut milk, and the accompaniments are sliced cucumber, hard-boiled eggs, sambal, and also some peanuts. And from there, you can add on whatever protein you want. For example, here is the fried chicken. So this dish is very commonly known in Malaysia. It's our national dish. But if you go around the Southeast Asia, like Laos, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, they have dishes that's very similar to this. Probably it's not nasi lemak, but it's very similar. And in the middle, we have Laksa Johor. So Laksa Johor is very different. It's also a variation on Laksa, where they use spaghetti, which is type of pasta, instead of our local rice noodles, and topped off with a thick fish gravy. And then it's very normal for condiments to be spread out like that in most of the dishes in Malaysia, so that there's many preference to many people, right? So if, for example, I don't want any of the herbs being mixed into my meal, I can just leave it out and mix the rest in by myself. In the top right, you see asam laksa, which is similar, but it's more sour, more tamarind based soup. It's not as dry, and instead of spaghetti, they use rice noodles, clear rice noodles. And the bottom is chicken rendang. This also varies from state to state. Some might be a bit spicier, some might be a bit drier, some might be a bit creamier, but this is the most standard one where you can see everywhere in Malaysia. So Malaysia is a country separated by South China Sea into two regions. So we have the Peninsula Malaysia, which is known as West Malaysia, and East Malaysia, which is located in the Borneo Islands. It shares land borders with Thailand, Indonesia, and Singapore. So you can see everything's really close by. So the influences are very similar. Yeah. Malay cuisine, especially in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore and Brunei, is similar because it came from the same root. Malay cuisine is usually halal. Malay cooking is very unique, however, it's been assimilated to other influences like Arab, Indonesian, Thai, Portuguese, Chinese, and Indian. So given the history of Malaysia, it is understandable that the northern states, for example, Penang, Perlis, and Kedah, will have influences from Thailand. So one of the famous things up north is Nasi Kanda. It's well known in the northern states. It's popularized by the Indian Muslims, the traders from India. So they call them Mama, which means Indian Muslims. So it's typically the dish of steamed rice or mildly flavored and served with varieties of curries and side dishes. Yeah. And Mama dishes have developed a distinctly Malaysian style available throughout the country. The Mama stall is very popular with us Malaysians, as it's sometimes open 24 hours a day. So this is a picture of the most famous, I would say, Nasi Kanda restaurant in Penang, so-called to be the first one ever opened. Okay? So it's a Hamidia restaurant established in 1907. As you can see on the right, there's a normal Nasi Kanda spread. It's similar like cafeteria style, where you pick the things you want and the server will put it on your plate and then you will get the bill after. This is a very normal setup for Nasi Kanda. As nearly 90% of Indians originated from the South India, banana leaf is used traditionally to eat food from. The banana leaf is a meal famous in Malaysia. So it's the same thing again with the uh, nasi kanda, but this is a different version. So they have more vegetarian options, and then it's served on a banana leaf. It's scented with rice. It has different condiments like pickles, fried meat, papadum, curry itself. It was served by servers walking around. It's a very Malaysian thing to see as well here. So this is a typical banana leaf meal, where each individually have a piece of banana leaf with all the rice and the curries are served around. So this is a very typical meal for Malaysians if they say I want to eat banana leaf. Yeah. Now we move further down near the east, where there's Terengganu also beside is Kelantan, which is famous for their Nasi Dadang and Leko, very reminiscent of Indonesian cuisine. As is, you can see a lot of people migrated there. Terengganu is popular amongst local tourists as there's many islands located near the state, such as Perhentian Island and Redang Island. So uses of kaffir lime, torch ginger, and mint leaves in rice dishes such as Nasi Kerabu is popular in Kelantan. This dish bursts with green confetti of wild peppers leaf, basil, daun kesum. As you can, is the dish takes influence from Thai dishes. Right? Both of the state use a lot of coconut milk. It gives it a rich, thick, and creamy consistency to all their gravies. However, Kelantanese food is a much sweeter variants. Right? As you can see on the left, there's a map of a small part of Malaysia, and you can see where Kelantan and Terengganu are situated. So Terengganu is close to the sea, and there's all the islands spread out around the port. And on the top right, you will see a blue colored rice is Nasi Kerabu. This is from Kelantan, so it's mainly served with the sambal, pickled veggies, raw vegetables as well. As you can see, the flying bean, salted egg, fried keropok leko, and usually it will be served with ayam pencit, which the gravy tends to be a bit sweeter. Yeah. And on the bottom, we will have Nasi Dadang. It's very famous in Terengganu. The rice is made with, is flavored and also has a texture of, it's a bit chewy. I think they use some kind of glutinous rice or Siamese rice. And it's served with pickled veggies and also some kind like sambal belacan. And on top we'll have a gulai ikan tongkol, which means mackerel stewed in gulai. Right? Gulai is a technique and also type of curry, but mostly popularized in Indonesia, where it's a bit different from normal curries where there is more herbaceous, there's more like lemongrass and the turmeric leaves and everything in it. So it's a bit different from other curries we have throughout Malaysia. So it's a bit more special or unique to Terengganu. And we move on to the central region where Kuala Lumpur and Selangor is. Well, Kuala Lumpur is very well known because it's a capital city of Malaysia. A lot of tourists come to Kuala Lumpur, and then from there they use it as a base and they travel back and forth from the to the north and the south. It's a very big city, you know. Kuala Lumpur is melting pot for all different type of cultures, you know, Chinese, Malay to other foreign countries as well. Its different traditions are openly celebrated and enjoyed. You know, we have so many holidays throughout the year. The food scene here can vary from traditional foods and also the modern cuisines of Malaysia, like how they interpret it into more modern fine dining type of food. But I think the city itself is more well known for its hawker centers, night markets, and restaurants that open till very late at night. Prior to COVID, we have restaurants opening to 3 to 4 a.m. You know, that's what Malaysians typically do at night. We will go out, socialize, you know, in different restaurants or kopitiams or hawkers. So this is a scene, you know, before COVID has, you know, make us a bit unsocialized. As you can see on the left is a typical scene in the night markets, or pasar malam, we will call it in Malaysia. It's very normal to see that scene where people walking back and forth and the neon colored marquees throughout the street is a typical sight in Malaysia to see. And on the right is hawker stalls. This one you can find throughout Malaysia. It's small stalls that sell foods. It varies from many different cultures, from Chinese to Malay to Indian to fusion to Western as well. You might find, and people will socialize like this, and the ambience will be very similar. Now we move further down to the south. We have Negeri Sembilan. So the cuisine is influenced by Minangkabau people from the West Sumatra. The profile of the flavor profile of that the south is sour, sweet, and spicy. Um, Clearly because of the migration of the Javanese people. The popular dishes there are rendang Minang and masak lemak cili padi. And it features extensive use of thick coconut milk and spices. They're also known for their smoked meats as salai. The protein can vary from beef, chicken, duck, fish, lamb, and many others. The protein is first marinated, then smoked. And when it's ready, it's cooked in spicy coconut gravy, which also means masak lemak cili padi. It's very similar to Americans where they smoke their meat, their barbecue, where they smoke their meat with hickory, applewood, or mesquite wood. But in Malaysia, the Negeri Sembilan people, where they make salai, they use coconut husk, dried coconut husk to flavor their smoke. So it's very distinctive difference between the American barbecue and also the Malaysian one. So you can see on the left, there's a typical setup for the salai restaurants in Malaysia. You can see the duck hanging, and at the bottom you can see beef or fish as well. And then they will start smoking. It takes quite a while to get those meats ready. After marinating, they smoke it. And then on the side, they will prepare the gravy, which is turmeric, chili padis, but like bird's eye chilies, and also coconut milk. And once it's ready, they'll chop out the meat, they'll stew it in the gravy, and then serve it with rice and fresh herbs as well on the side. Malacca is also towards the southern region of Malaysia. But Malacca has a famous and unique history. It's one of the major tourist destinations in Malaysia. We are highly strategic state position for international trade routes. Back in the day, Malacca was one of the well-known international trade centers in the east, where many traders anchored in Malacca, especially traders from Arabia, China, India. They traded at the port of Malacca because there was no flights, so they had to use boats and they have to pass by the straits. So Malacca was the major ports for everyone to stop and trade. And from there, you can see the influences from all the different countries when they come in, they mingle, and some they stay. And then from there, you can see all the different tribes or cultures being placed in our country. So Malacca offers varieties of dishes, especially Malay influenced Nyonya cuisine, a blend of Malay and Chinese cuisine. So this cuisines, Nyonya, is based from the Chinese immigrants and also the Indonesian immigrants. Once they settle in together, they get married, and this is their variation of our Malaysian food. So on the top left is poro ikan, which means fish stomach. So it's they pick a particular type of fish and with the stomach in it, they dry it and then they cook it in a gravy of pineapples, pineapples, tamarind skins. They cook it for a while, cook it until the fish stomach is tender, and then they serve it like that, like the gravy. And then the bottom is Nyonya Laksa. It's another type of laksa, um, but this is more creamy, more with a hint of sambal. The sambal could be blended with a lot of dried shrimps, and it's coconut based. And the top right will be ayam masak keluak. So keluak is a very controversial ingredient. It's a black seeds you see on the dish. So the keluak seed is from a tree, a pangium tree, where the fruit is highly poisonous, okay? Because it contains a high trace amount of hydrogen cyanide. So to make it edible, the people they boil it and they ferment it over a certain period of time to release all the cyanide, and then you have to properly handle it and cook in the curry like that. So baba and nyonya is very vast. Malacca is one of them, and there's a lot of this kind of food as well in Penang where they travel up north. Yeah. Then we talk about Malaysian Chinese cuisine. It's no different in popularity, and based on the ranges of roots where the Chinese came from, there are Fujian, Hokkien, Cantonese, Hakka, and Teochew cuisines. Most of Malaysian um, descendants are mostly come from southern China. The culinary practices of these Chinese descendants evolve with the time and fuse with local characteristics into the dishes. I'll give you an example of a dish called Jijong Fan. Most of you would have heard it. But from Ipoh and Penang, and even uh, some part of Selangor would have a variation of the dish, where, um, for example, the one in Ipoh, they use red sweet sauce, and in Penang, they have a sweet black shrimp sauce. Yeah. So this is following how the variation has, because of the culture and different people migrating to the area. So on the left will be the Penang style where it's served with the shrimp paste, and on the right is Ipoh style where they have a sweet red sauce served with some pickle chilies as well. And these are some of the Chinese dishes you can find throughout Malaysia, with certain places have their own variations. So on the top left is bak kut teh, mostly influenced by the Teochew people that has been living here. And on the bottom left is Hainanese chicken rice. From the name, it's influenced by Hainanese people. Those descendants that come in, they brought all their traditions as well and brought it to Malaysia. This dish is very famous because of a Singaporean guy who got the Michelin star for their chicken rice. So it's the same thing. And on the right is a char kway teow. I think this is also very famous. This is influenced by the Fujianese people, where they use a lot of stir frying noodles and stuff like that. But they adapt it to Malaysian, where they have a bit of spice. It's a bit different. You can't find this in Fujian. All right, so this is a little video showing you how the different generations have evolved, telling you how Malaysians feel when they want to eat. These are the varieties we have, and also just to show you guys how it's evolving, how our cuisine is evolving.
With a total landmass of over 300,000 square kilometers, Malaysia is known for its capital city, Kuala Lumpur. The country is made up of culturally diverse people who are proud to call Malaysia home. Something that makes Malaysians even prouder is their food.
It's hard to pick. I mean, we got Chinese food, we got Indian food, we got tons. So we'll go for Malay food first. Have a look. That's the last time. Just take them to like a food stall, man.
Maybe goreng ayam without spice, without sayur, without veggie. Nama saya Sheikh Maidin bin Adam Shah. Saya 56. Saya asal dari Kuala Lumpur. Tapi saya pernah ada ke hospital besar Kemaru. Tak faham. Saya dah kedai ini dah dekat 50 tahun. 70. Ya. Ini sebab bapa start mula-mula. Saya ikut bapa saya. Oh. Bapa saya mula-mula start lah. Bapa saya yang buat. Lepas pada bapa saya buat lah. Saya ambil daripada alih tangan bapa saya tahun 97. Bulan 12. Buat susu kambing. Ya, dia nombor 1 buat susu kambing. Saya start bertangan kepada bapak saya masuknya dalam 30 something lah. 30 something. Masa anda saya main tangan pun sudah dekat 25 tahun. Ya. Anda main sorry 25 years. 25 tahun. Ada tukar apa-apa rasanya? Tak. Same masuk. Same. Okay. Nombor satunya buat sup kambing. Ya. Okay, apa ini dalam sup kambing? Sup kambing dalam kambing ada depend nak customer nak apa. Ada kambing ada tulang rusuk. Kalau nak seng ada seng. Kalau nak tunjang ada tunjang. Kalau ada nak perut. Ada nak lidah kita bagi lidah. Depend customer nak apa. Kadang-kadang customer nak campur. Kadang-kadang customer nak one flavor. So tulang rusuk. Yang sudut itu tu kebab. Ada dua nama. Orang panggil kebab atau lime seng. Dia paling suka itu. Paling suka orang suka sangat pasal nak sudut. Dia ada choice dua. Dalam tu ada tendon sekali. Tendon tu dia bukan tendon tu bukan lemak, ligament. Itu ligamen bukan lemak. Itu ligamen baik untuk sakit pinggang, sakit sendi-sendi. Dia kawal. Yang sendi-sendi kita ada kadang-kadang ada lucu sikit, jalan sakit, itu sakit itu dia boleh kawal. Masak sup itu pagi pukul 11 start, pukul 3:30 baru siap. Kurang 4 jam setengah memasak. Ya. Pasal ini bukan dapur gas, kita pakai arang. Arang memang makan masa. Dan taste lebih. Kalau gas setengah jam boleh siap.
Seafood ni dia macam ada unikan dia lah. Dia seafood dia tu. Seafood dia tu kita kalau sometimes seafood tu macam tengok food truck. Sometimes ada yang okey tapi yang jenis yang old school ni dia lain sebab dia lebih kepada tradisi.
Saya keluar dari rumah ke pukul 9 pagi.
9 pagi.
Terus pergi market. Saya pergi market shopping. Pergi beli ayam, kambing semua. Barang. Ada banyak lah kambing, ada shank, ada semua campur-campur pada dekat-dekat 15 kilo adalah kambing. Ada pikiran nak buka restoran juga, nak buka gerai ke, buka cawangan ke, buka itu kan tak ada. Siapa bank negara satu saja, bank negara tak ada cawangan. Public bank ke, bank Islam ke, lain-lain bank semua ada cawangan. Di bank negara tak ada cawangan, di satu saja. Itu macam ini satu bank negara.
Ikut bank negara.
Ya, satu cawangan saja. Kalau kita buka banyak-banyak cawangan, dan tu sup sudah spoil. Ini bukan saya pilih, arwah bapa saya yang pilih. Jadi tempat dia. Jadi arwah bapa saya kena jaga maruah dia. Tempat dia yang mula-mula. Dari sini juga dia jaga anak-anak dia sampai kita jadi besar begini, sampai dapat cucu begitu besar. Ini tempat yang really tempat. Ini tempat memang kita takkan tinggalnya. Ini tempat kita punya tempat.
"30 million Malaysians all share one common connection: food.
Give me a second, guys. Right, so as you can see from the video, the they have so many varieties of food, and the culture is right there, and you can see that majority of all these people, the street food or hawker stall um, people are already getting old. So this generation nowadays, I just want to talk about the difference in people's thinking now, because there's so many social media and people wanting to be more famous, more popular. You want to be seen, right? So these kind of jobs or this kind of culture in Malaysia will be slowly depreciating, because as you can see, most majority of them now are very old, and the sons or daughter or their next of kin will not be wanting to do all these jobs anymore, because it's nice, glamorous. You can't post about it every day on your social media. So we will lose a lot of these foods in the next 20, 30 years. We probably will not see any of this anymore, because the younger generations will not want to do that sort of jobs. It's not as comfortable. You won't make as much friends, but and also you don't make much of a living sometimes, especially when there's during COVID, especially when COVID now, a lot of these hawker stalls and people with small businesses are suffering a lot, where they cannot go out and sell the food, and then for older generations, for them to adapt, to have takeaways and using technology like Grab and Foodpanda and stuff like that will be hard for them, because they cannot adapt. So from what I can see, especially when I was overseas, I see a lot of people doing uh, cafes and stuff like that, and then they will brought the bakeries, small bakeries as well. You can see the generation people work there, like butchery as well, from father to son to grandson. They've been brought up to understand this is a family business, and you have to continue doing this job, improving it, and then giving back to the community. I think that's the only thing difference in Malaysia, where we don't promote it as much. And then youngsters nowadays, they will not want to do, for example, the soup tulang. Nobody wants to wake up 9 o'clock, go to the market, and then do the soup for like 4 or 5 hours, serving in that kind of environment. It's not as glamour as like a fine dining restaurant and stuff like that. But I see our food when I went overseas. You still see Malaysian food as the same thing that happened to us maybe 60, 57 years ago, where all the traders come in, the migrants come in, we get marriage from the Chinese to Indonesian to Vietnamese, Thai, and then comes Malaysian food. So I think now the next generation is where people who goes overseas, um, they will settle there. In, for example, in Australia, they will start bringing up the food of Malaysia, because they then only realize like our culture is so much diversity, so much story, history. Then they bring our food there, showcase it. So in a way, Malaysia's food will not uh, disappear, but just people like those in the video will not have their story continuous, as the children will not want to do it anymore. But I have good hope. Hopefully after COVID, everything goes back to normal. People can start moving their lives, travel, eating, and having that night market scene open back again. You will see probably more youngsters, more individuals starting to want to take over those kind of business, and bring back all these heritage cuisines before it's like lost forever, before we cannot find it anymore. So that's it for me. Is there any questions?
Yes, thank you very much, Chef Alex. I have two questions.
Yes.
Yeah. Question number one is related to the cuisines from the East Coast, Kelantan, Terengganu. We know that it's very common that the food in Kelantan and Terengganu uses a lot of sugar. They add in sugar into their dishes. Is this because they wanted to balance out the spiciness? Because we also know their dish in Kelantan Terengganu is very spicy, as in they add a lot of chili. Yeah, is that the main reason why sugar is added?
I think the sugar is added mainly is because of the culture, the people, the Javanese people who come here. They make it a bit more sweeter just to maybe give the people like the Chinese people or the local people a bit easier to handle the spice, as you say. So from there, it started to evolve, and then that's where it's known where the Cantonese food is a bit sweeter. I think that's how they adapt the food to that specific region. You know?
And my second question is also on the future of Malaysian cuisine. You mentioned that a lot of young people do not want to learn how to cook this heritage cuisine because one of the thing is the cooking method sometimes takes a lot of work, effort. Like you mentioned, the soup gearbox, no, soup tulang, you need to take time. Yeah, and young people do not have time to do this. So in your opinion, what would be the solution, yeah, to this issue?
For me, I think the only I wouldn't say a solution, but in the future when things things tend to pan out eventually, like now the trends you see, a lot of people don't want to do all these hawker stores because it's not glamorous. They can't see themselves doing such a job. You don't look good, and the pay is not as much. You know, they want to sit comfortably in the air conditioned area, and then like you said, the food takes a long time to make, so they don't really have that patience until they realize that it's too late. Um, they realize working in the probably in an office or something like that is not for them, and then they will start venturing out and things like that. They only I feel people only realize after a certain age that um, they want to do alternate things. For example, if the guy did not carry over from his dad, there will not be this food to this day. So hopefully the grandson will continue. But the the time taking to make this kind of food, like you said, is a big part of it because nowadays people have no patience. You know, the generation now are moving towards high speed internet, everything on demand. You know, Grab, whatever you want, you just call Grab or Food Panda and deliver to your house. So things are too convenient, and people are not patient enough to have this kind of process in their life. You know.
Okay, thank you very much, Chef. What about the other audience? Do we have any questions from the floor? No? If no question, again, thank you very much on behalf of the Erasmus Friends team of Berjaya UC. We thank you, Chef Alex, for the important sharing on Malaysian heritage cuisine. So we will be back at 11:30. We have some video sharing, and also hopefully if the connection is good, we have a live performance from Indonesia. We have one student who will be performing songs, yeah, folk songs from Indonesia. So let's meet back again in this platform at 11:30. Yeah, and again, thank you very much for the audience. Yeah, and Chef Alex. So we will meet again at 11:30. Thank you very much, Chef Alex.
Thank you guys. Thank you for participating today.
Thank you. Thank you.